Still friends, welcome here. Guys, today I'm going to react on Rise and Fall of the Khmer Empire, the history of Cambodia. Today I want to see, so I'm very much excited, friend. Let's start.
The fabulously wealthy and powerful Khmer Empire, also known as the Angkor Empire, was based out of the territory which is now modern-day Cambodia. The Khmer, correctly pronounced Khmer, or Khmer in English, are an ancient people whose culture became heavily Indianized in the region's prehistory. The land they inhabited lay at the midpoint of the maritime trade route between India and China. Over the centuries of contact with Indian merchants, both Hinduism and Buddhism were widespread throughout the whole of Southeast Asia. Hinduism did not completely replace the earlier shamanistic practices there. While Hinduism became the dominant religion of mainland Southeast Asia's ruling class, Buddhism generally became more popular with the common people. Additionally, Indian culture and language combined with the Khmer society, which developed into a unique cultural amalgamation. The first major state in the region was Funan, which was likely a loose confederation of cities. Very little is known about the Funan, other than a few surviving inscriptions and a handful of mentions in Chinese records. According to the Chinese, one of the Funan's vassals was Chenla, a Khmer state. They overthrew the Funan and established themselves at the head of a new confederation of city-states. The Chenla Empire was prone to infighting and broke up into two competing factions the Chinese called the Land and the Water Chenla. Some modern scholars believe this is an overgeneralization and that the Chenla broke down into many more smaller factions that all competed and warred on each other. Whatever the case may be, the disunity among the Chenla, particularly the Water Chenla, made them easy prey. Pirates from the south took advantage of the situation and poured into the Mekong Delta, raiding, looting, and seizing control of cities. The two thalassocratic imperial powers of the south, the Shailendra dynasty of Java and the Srivijaya of Sumatra, both sought to impose their control over the Chenla. During this same period, it is believed the Cham people of the central south coast of what is now Vietnam also raided and occupied former Chenla territory. It was during this chaotic time that a minor lord began uniting the squabbling Khmer principalities under his authority. This enabled him to drive out all of the foreign invaders. In the year 802, he was proclaimed a god king after an ancient Hindu ceremony was performed. Afterwards, all of the major and minor independent lords and chieftains fell in line and swore fealty to him. Although he was the first leader of a new empire, he took the name Jayavarman II. Jayavarman I had ruled more than a century beforehand, and was the last ruler of the unified Chenla Empire. The name Jayavarman harkened back to a more prosperous and powerful time, and the revival of past glory. Jayavarman II moved the capital city to a more defensible location in the north, further away from the open flatlands of the Mekong Delta. Jayavarman's successors expanded the kingdom to the north and west. They defeated and vassalized to the predominantly Mon kingdoms of Lavo and Harapunchai after several campaigns. They also maintained hostile relations with the rapidly expanding Srivijayan Empire to their south. To combat the growing threat, the Khmer made an alliance with the Srivijayan's commercial competitor, the Chola dynasty of Cambodia. The Chola sent a massive fleet, which raided and plundered
Chola is an Indian dynasty.
After a peace treaty was negotiated, Srivijaya entered a long period of decline and infighting, which increased the Khmer Empire's
the Chola dynasty goes to the Khmer Empire.
The Cham people of the Kingdom of Champa to the east were the empire's oldest foe, with whom they fought many wars, most of them being largely inconclusive. Usually Champa was victorious when they were invaded, and the Khmer were victorious when the Cham invaded them. There were a few exceptions when one side would plunder a major enemy city and carry off some loot, declaring victory afterwards, but little territory changed hands. In a rare example of the two cooperating, they collaborated with the Chinese Song Dynasty Empire to invade Dai Viet. After the Dai Viet defeated the Chinese, they changed their mind about the whole invasion thing and withdrew their forces.
It's in 1077.
They soon resumed unsuccessfully invading.
It's the early stage of art.
Remarkable aspects of the Khmer Empire is that from the early years of its formation as an empire, it was constantly plagued by palace intrigue, civil wars, and internal rebellions, many of them successful. But in despite of all the internal conflict, The empire appears to have been well run. Its population grew rapidly,
Wow.
and the land was usually exceptionally
Under many
prosperous.
distractions,
As
the
the
Khmer
nobility played
Empire
the Game of Thrones with
rises
each
up.
other, the ministers, scholars, and priestly bureaucracy actually ran the country. Consequently,
Wow,
the power,
802
wealth,
to
and influence steadily
1431.
increased over the centuries. In the late 11th and early 12th century, the empire went into a short period of decline, as the nobility waged war on each other in the Cham as they liked to do. The western vassals stopped paying tribute. Surya Varman II got the nobility
Surya
in line
Varman!
and reunited the empire.
He is also
During his
Indian.
long reign, he launched multiple failed invasions of Debjit. He had successfully coerced the Champa into joining him on at least one of his invasions of
Surya Varman is from
but
India,
then
man.
refused to join him on another
I have
invasion.
read one of my
He
history.
invaded the Champa instead. And unlike the numerous invasions of his predecessors, this invasion was successful. He killed the Cham king, sacked the capital city, put his brother-in-law on the throne of Champa, and returned home to celebrate. The Cham immediately rebelled and executed his brother-in-law. He invaded Champa again, in a disastrous
So how many
campaign where
invaded,
his
wow.
brute he died. Surya Varman II probably
That's called the
wanted to be
how the
remembered as
history
the man
grows.
who destroyed the Champa, but instead, he is known as the man who built Angkor Wat, the largest religious structure in the
Wow.
world, dedicated to the Hindu god
Hindu god
throughout the
Vishnu.
history of the empire. The
So
plain of
Vishnu is
Angkor
our Hindu
hosted no
god.
fewer than 7 grand capital cities, each with a massive temple at the center.
Wow.
An intricately engineered network of canals used for irrigation.
Surya Varman
and
too is
speedy
from
travel.
India and he invaded the Khmer Empire. He established the Khmer Empire from Cambodia.
The super city is estimated to have had over 1 million inhabitants, making it the largest city in the world at the time. In the fascinating documentary, Angkor, Twilight of Civilizations,
Oh, from the Angkor Wat. That's why I can say
the details
why
of
the
Angkor's
Indian and
construction
Cambodians
and
are
its mysterious
connected.
demise are examined.
Today I got it,
If you happen
man.
to be spending more time at home these days, a great way to invest your time is with CuriosityStream, a streaming service
Wow.
hosting thousands of documentaries and non-fiction titles covering
Very
a wide
good
variety
video,
of
man.
topics. The annual plan, which is less than $20 for a whole year of unlimited access, is really good value. So go to curiositystream.com.
Wow, very good information, man.
and for
Wow.
members, enter the promo code EPI during sale
I'm
to get 30
thinking
days
how
membership for free.
Angkor
During the
Wat
reign of
is.
Surya Varman II's successors, the
I'll
country
tell,
was
man.
plunged into civil war. This enabled the Champa
Cham.
to enact revenge on their old foe. They defeated the Khmer and took their capital city of
Oh.
Angkor. Angkor was taken by a daring surprise attack. The Cham sailed a fleet up the Mekong River, across the Tonle Sap Lake, and up a smaller tributary river to the city. The empire appeared to be on the brink of a complete collapse when Jayavarman VII united the squabbling Khmer factions and drove out the Cham. He later counterattacked and conquered the Cham, making them a vassal state.
Counter attack.
During Jayavarman's reign, the empire drastically rebounded and experienced a short-lived golden age.
Wow,
His
man.
massive building program did not only
The
include
Khmer
typical
Empire
temples and
faces many
palaces,
wars.
but over 100 hospitals were also built for the common
Wow,
people.
it's really
Even
good.
though Jayavarman VII was a Buddhist, who widely promoted the religion throughout
Oh,
the
that's
empire,
why the
Hindu
Buddhist
priestly
grew up from
bureaucracy
Khmer.
continued to increase their power, receiving lavish gifts from the nobility. The Champa regained their independence shortly after Jayavarman's reign. In the west, the Thai, a people who had previously migrated from the north, overthrew the Lavo
Hundreds of
vassals the
years
Khmer
before.
and established their own kingdom of Sukhothai. Shortly afterwards, a second hostile Thai state formed in the north, Lena. 3 years later, in 1292, the Mongols invaded. After some moderate-scale border clashes, the Khmer decided to give them some gold, and they went away. In 1350, power in Sukhothai was usurped by the powerful city of Ayutthaya. Its first king married the Khmer emperor's daughter in the hopes of forming an alliance, which soon fell apart. Ayutthaya then launched a failed invasion of Angkor. The empire was too weak to hold on to the north. Consequently, the independent allied Lao kingdom of Lanzang was established as a buffer against attacks from the north. Lanzang had better success in halting Thai expansion and defeated them several times. During the last century of the Angkor Empire's existence, building projects ceased, and there are no surviving historical records from this period. The last 2 written mentions of their kingdom was in 1393. The Thai of Ayutthaya launched a successful campaign against the Khmer, and again in 1430.
Thai versus Khmer.
Sometime shortly afterwards, the city was abandoned and reclaimed by the jungle.
Oh.
Up until recently, it was thought that the Thai campaign of 1431 sacked the
Thailand versus Cambodia, war begins.
Archaeologists at the site have determined that there is no conclusive evidence of such an event having taken place. Increasingly, environmental factors such as widespread deforestation,
So I can say
soil
Cambodia
erosion,
came
and
from
particularly
long time ago,
are
man.
believed to have likely played an
It's
influential
very much older than Thailand also.
The city. The
Cambodia.
last Khmer emperor was also the first king of Cambodia. He led a demoralized band of refugees from a once mighty capital city to begin building a new capital city, only to have it destroyed by floods 3 years after its construction began.
Destroyed by
Envoys
floods
were
3
sent to
years.
the Chinese Ming emperor requesting aid, but none was
The
received.
Chinese are very
The
much
kingdom
enemy.
of Cambodia
They don't
was a
help.
diminished remnant of its former self.
If
but
they
it
call to India, India will
the
surely
monarchy
help, man.
survived many invasions and occupations until 1970, when the monarchy was overthrown by the military.
Wow.
A long, tragic, and violent period ensued, where a large portion of the country was slaughtered. After transitioning through many different governments, a constitutional monarchy
Yeah.
was re-established in 1993. This has been Epimetheus.
Wow.
Thank you so much for watching.
Wow, man, wow, very much good video, man, very much good video. Wow, so I can say that, guys, in your school, you guys also read history, the Khmer history along with India, man. Wow, you guys read about India also in your Khmer history. I think how Angkor Wat is related to India, how can they relate to our India? Today I got the answer, man. Wow. So I can say Cambodia is very much old country. India is the very much old country, I think, but Cambodia is also a very much old country. And so many people are telling that in my one video I have published, traditional dance between Thailand versus Cambodia. So many Thai people are telling that the oldest country is our, and Cambodia also telling the oldest country is our. So it is, this video is the truth about that Thailand don't comes after Cambodia. Cambodia comes first, then Thailand comes, and then I think Vietnam comes. But Cambodia is from 800 BC, 880. Wow, so long time back. And the first Indian Hinduism and Buddhism took create from Cambodia. I can say India birthed Cambodia. India and China, if I say, I will not say about singular India, I will say China also. India and China born Cambodia. So the Cambodian Empire is, and from India the Hinduism and the Buddhism comes from Cambodia, and the later time changes, and the I think the Hinduism left Cambodia, and Buddhism I think left Cambodia. Hinduism I don't know. You guys can say me, friend, because I think in Cambodia Buddhism is very much, and from time goes that Hinduism has left out, I can say. But the China also destroy some Cambodia's land. The Cambodia is a very big country earlier days, but from destruction, but from war, the big land becomes into small pieces. It's very much annoying, man. And from that the king, he says Surya Varma too. I have read in my history, man. Surya Varma is our Indian king, Indian great king, Surya Varma. And he took the Angkor Wat first time in Cambodia. So our Indian king has took in Cambodia the Angkor Wat temple and prayed our Lord Hindu god Vishnu. You guys know that our main Indian Hindu god is Vishnu. All the Hindu god main is Vishnu, Narayan, Vishnu. So he took first, and now in Angkor Wat, which the god is established, this god is Vishnu. So I can say one thing also, friend, Hinduism and Buddhism two are not different religion, two are the both same religion, because Vishnu is from Hinduism also and Vishnu is from Buddhism also. There is a one big tale is from there, from Siddhartha Gautam is the avatar, is the recreation of Vishnu. So it is a very long story. I will say another video, friend, and that's how it's begin. And It's the true knowledge I gotten, friend, that Cambodia is very much long. Yeah, and India is also there in Cambodia and Khmer history. Wow. So guys, this is my reaction and review. If you guys like this, please subscribe my channel. I will come with another new amazing video, friend. Till then, keep healthy, keep smiling, and it's called Hi.